Lighten up, take me on your magic river. Tell me all your dreams align. Sign me up and tell me about the people that you know who are trying to feel alive. Life can get hard, so honey, if you need to cry, just come share my pillow and rain, rain, go away. I wanna hear about everything you're ever thinking. You know that.
Welcome to the vlog. This is the book club vlog, and I swear the camera is going to move. It's just I totally forgot to charge my camera, so I'm going to charge it after this clip, and then I'm starting the vlog late because I had a migraine during the Super Bowl and all until like 1:30 today, which is super annoying, but I am good now. I feel good, and I want to show y'all what I'm reading. The weekly TBR. First, we have our weekly quote that is, "Brave doesn't mean you aren't scared. It means you go on even though you're scared," by Angie Thomas. So it's like our first like modern author. We've been doing this. I feel like the rest of these have been classics, so that's cool that this is including modern voices as well. And my vacuum stopped, so what is it stuck on? But let's see the actual books now. This is quite the heavy stack. First, I did not get to my poetry collection today because, again, when I would typically read this is when I was in bed with a migraine, and I did not want to read when I was kind of nauseous and feeling gross. But this is Cat Poems. I might still pick it up sometime today because I will finish it. I literally only have like 8 pages left, and I already know what I'm going to say in my review, what I'm going to rate it, and all of that. But we have Cat Poems, poems all about cats. And then we have the main focus of this vlog, which I'm already like 40% of the way into because it is a romance and they tend to read pretty quickly. I'm not going to say my thoughts yet because I will when we do our nightly update. And yeah, she's probably about to start barking, or is she zooming? I think she is. That's the zoomies. But okay. So Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young is the book that my Fable book club, the Raindrop book club, is reading this month. If you guys would like to join that, the link is always down below in the description of my videos. And yeah, she's playing. But let's see what this book is about here. So Winifred Wynne McNulty has always been wildly independent and not one to be coddled for her limb difference. Wynne has spent most of her life trying to prove that she can do it all on her own. With some minor adjustments, she's done just fine. Hooking up at a costume party with the incredibly charming Beau changes everything. Wynne finds herself pregnant and decides to keep the baby. While Beau is surprisingly elated to step up to the plate, Wynne is unsure whether she can handle this new challenge. Wynne and Beau decide to get to know each other as friends and nothing more while they embark on this parenting journey together. But as they both should know by now, life rarely goes according to plan. So this is the book that is the main focus of this vlog. My book club, we voted on this book. Out of all the books that I had on my February TBR, you can check out last week's video to see that. But this is one of the highest rated romance books. It might be the highest altogether rated romance book on my TBR. And that is what, again, our main focus is. Then we have my mood read, which is a thriller, and that is People Like Her by Ellery Lloyd. This is about a couple where the mom, she is a mom influencer on Instagram. This is taking place in the UK, so it's kind of different. We don't really use that term here. We say like family vlogger, but she is a mom influencer and, you know, exploiting her kids, and it's going into the dark side of social media and everything that can happen from putting your life out there for millions of people to watch. Lastly, we have my ebook pick, which is Go Tell the Bees That I'm Going by Dana Gabaldon. This is the 9th and most recent book in the Outlander series. This is following one family during the American Revolution with some time travel elements that involves very genre bending. So that's what I'm currently reading. I'm gonna go check Fable because I saw that some people have put up some notes, so I want to see how they're feeling about our buddy read. Also, so when I was at the grocery store yesterday buying up some, goodies for my Super Bowl meal, which I think the chicken wings might have been what made me nauseous and not my migraine, but since I always get a migraine on this day of the month, I don't know what really caused it because the chicken tasted fine, but still, besides the point. But I was getting some potatoes and a man came up to me and it looked like he worked there, but I'm not sure. And he was like, excuse me, in your spare time, are you a reader? Or you read in your spare time, something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this my first time a subscriber's coming up to me? Like, I thought that that's what was happening and I was about to be shook. I was like, oh my gosh. And then he had these papers and he handed it to me. So I don't know if he is the author because it was kind of loud, but it's Twists, Turns, and Adjustments by W.J. Calloway. And this is a memoir. You can find it at Walmart, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon, and there is an audiobook for it, and you can listen to the first chapter for free on Amazon. And so this is a memoir about this man's rise from poverty, and I think it even said on the Amazon page that he had been to prison and everything, and it's just how he got his life back after all of that. And that does sound straight up my alley. I love memoirs and I love stories of the resilience of humans, and I wish I could have talked more to this guy, but he seemed like he was kind of in a rush. That he was telling me all about this, and I kind of wanted to tell him, like, hey, I have a YouTube channel and hand him my business card. I've never done that. I've never given my business card to somebody, and I get nervous saying I have a YouTube channel because I don't know, I get nervous telling people that. Like, I'm not ashamed of it, but when it's actually like, an official capacity where it's like, what do you do? I'm like, or like, what are your hobbies or whatever? I just kind of freeze up and don't say it. But yes, so y'all should definitely check out this book because I've never had that happen. I've never had somebody come up to me promoting a book or something. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I haven't bought it yet, but I will sometime because y'all know I only buy a certain amount of books a month. But yeah, now I'm gonna go see what my vacuum's doing and then check Fable, and at 6 o'clock I will get into reading. It is currently 4:42. Also, I need to get Delilah inside, and it looks like she's being bad chewing on the deck. Okay, that got our attention. Okay, we are recording. It's time for the nightly update. I got to like 61%, I think it was. I don't remember the percent, but I read 63 pages and out on a limb. So I'm going to give y'all my update on my notes. So what happened today? What happened in here today? We have them adjusting to this, ow, that hurt. Not format, but like the way they're living, and just finding out about each other because they're not a couple, but it's like you're having a kid together and you want to get to know the other person. They do like this 20 question game, which I think is a lot of fun. I would love to do that with just anybody, not somebody I'm trying to fall in love with, but I think it would be fun just to get to know your friends and everything. But we're going to start with chapter 17 is where I started today. So I was like, why is it so hard to ask about dinner? And it's because Wynn is like, do I make dinner? Does he make dinner? Does he have any allergies? And like, blah, blah, like all these questions. Like she definitely has some kind of anxiety disorder. It has not said, but I think she does because she overthinks like no other. But I'm like, why is it so hard to talk about dinner? But like, the next page, they do communicate. That's something that's great about this book is the communication skills. These characters act their age. I think they're 28. And I love when people in romance books act their age and not like 15-year-olds. And then, so they're having this whole discussion about finances and how they should do that as co-parents and everything. And I was like, their soup is probably getting cold. Like their dinner is getting cold while they're having this whole discussion. And then on page 167, I'm like, is that our scene on the cover? I never really think about that. I think of the title, I underline when the title happens, but like, I think that was our cover. And, I wanted to make note of that because I've never done that before. And then 18, he's having a game night with friends. I'm like, it's going to be D&D. It's going to be D&D. And, it was. And yeah, so he introduces her to all the Dungeon and Dragon guys, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna keep track of who all those guys were. I'm like, I know one was his boss, and then one is a character that is, you know, one of our side characters who's been here throughout the story. One is this guy he met at a support group, and then one of their husbands. I'm like, I'm not keeping track of that. Like, I don't know who's who. And yeah, so in the book club, this is moving on to chapter 19 now. Oh, that was chapter 18, but this is chapter 19 now. One of the members of the book club point out that Sarah and Caleb, who are our side characters, who are friends of, you know, our couple here, and they are all about sex. Like, all they talk about sex, and I'm like, good for them, but like, can y'all tone it down a little bit? It doesn't bother me or anything. I'm just saying that's really all they're about all the time. And I haven't read Fourth Wing, but I bet Sarah has, because like she reads, they talk a lot about her in romance books and more inside a romance book, but with the D&D and everything, I'm like, yeah, she's gonna be into that. And this is why I could never do D&D. A lot of people say I'd be really good at it, and being like the moderator or whatever, game master. I don't know what Eddie is on Stranger Things. People think I'd be good at that. And I'm like, yeah, I love coming up with stories and everything, but I cannot give a straight face. I would be laughing. So it's better for me just to write stuff than to be like saying it out loud, because I laugh a lot. See? And then I feel like most people in this situation would aim for a romantic relationship. They have a one-night stand, she gets pregnant, they decide to keep the baby, and I just think a lot of people would be like, we should try to date, because, you know, couples have babies and we should try to date, but they're trying to be friends. And again, this is just such a unique book, and I haven't read any other romance book like it. Next thing here, yeah, I hope this one thing was the big conflict, because compared to other romance books, it is not big, over dramatic, something stupid. So I'm like, hopefully that's it. But am I technically in the third act now? Since I'm in like the 60% mark, I don't remember when the third act. You have your first quarter, your second quarter. So yeah, that I would be in the third quarter, right? Maybe. I'm bad at math. Yeah, when they were talking finances, I was like, yeah, you know, obviously everybody in life, adults, have finances, and I just, like, I can do that, but, like, just doing it, but reading about it, I'm like, yeah. And, yeah, so I'm saying I can't do numbers. And then in chapter 20, Henry, that's so wholesome, happy, because just seeing the representation of people with disabilities, and that people with disabilities can do anything, and you shouldn't judge them or have like preconceived notions about them. And it's just awesome to see them doing things, you know? And yeah, I think she talks about like her dream is to open a camp for kids with disabilities, because she her degree is kind of like therapy through being outside. And yeah, so I think that's going to be the epilogue. I don't know if it will be. That's just my theory, and I think that's what's going to happen. And now we have chapter 21. In this book so far, you know, 60-some% into it, we've only had Win is our character, Win's perspective. And usually, I don't like that in romance books, especially fake dating. This isn't fake dating, but I like to have both characters POV, just because I think it adds more to the story and everything, just seeing everybody in the romance's perspective. And I mean, it's only 2 characters. How hard can that be? And I don't know, because I've never written that, so I have no idea. But with this, we are only getting the female protagonist's perspective, but Bo is still greatly developed, and I think a part of that is just because the communication is so good here, and you're not having that miscommunication trope happen. And I just think that is awesome, that we're not even having his perspective, but because of their conversations and everything, you really get to know Bo as a person, and that is awesome. And that goes for some of our other side characters as well. And yeah, I think in the past, one of Beau's exes might have made him feel less than for having to have an amputation. And that was actually one of our members of the book club said that. And now, especially in chapter 21, I am definitely thinking that. And chapter 22, this is the last one I'm going to talk about now. And they go to a restaurant just to eat lunch because they have nothing left at home. And I'm like, they go to this restaurant and there's no menu. I would be so stressed out. Like, if any of y'all are ever taking me to lunch, never take me to a place with no menu, because one, I'm already indecisive. I don't know what I want to eat. That's why I have my set schedule of like a revolving thing. Like every Tuesday I go to a different restaurant, and all the other days I eat at the same restaurants. Every time I might not get the same thing, but I need a set list. I can't go in with no menu. That would stress me out. And I knew who the restaurant owner was going to be. Or at least the guy who took their order. I knew who it was going to be. And that is all for Out on a Limb. I kind of just threw the book over there. That's all. I might get into cat poems after I eat dinner. I'm going to have pizza rolls. This is my second time having pizza rolls today, but y'all know I've been kind of going through it today. Like, I've kind of been having a lazy day because it got cold again last week. You know, on Friday it was like 80 degrees. Now we're back in the 40s. I am freezing. I'm just going to be lazy in my blankies, reading, eating junk food, having a good time. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to be doing that? Y'all know I did everything that I said I was going to do. But let's talk about cat poems, because I did finish it. This is by New Directions. The Glee Club wrote this. I'm joking. It is by New Directions, so... or that's the publisher. So I only say who's edited by, but on, like, Goodreads and all that, it says New Directions, but it's edited by Tynan Cogain. And I give this a 2.25. I literally just held down the 2 and 3 stars because I'm like, it's one of those. And I was like, okay, it landed on 2. We'll give it a 2.25 because, I mean, it was, here's my review. Cute, a tad pretentious. I prefer narrative poetry, but I'm not going to unhaul this book because it is so cute. Y'all know black cats are my favorite animal, but then if you ask me like my favorite wild animal, it's a lion. But I love black cats. I have 2 of them. I love them, so I will not be unhauling this book. So my next morning read, I was like, this book looks small. I don't know if it actually is, because this is like a really small book. I don't know if this is shorter than usual or not, but yeah, I didn't work out today. Again, I have to keep being like, I had a migraine, and then I don't want people coming and being like, I hope you feel better. I'm like, thanks, but I'm better. This video is going up on Saturday. If I was not better by Saturday, that's anxiety. We're knocking on wood. But this will be my next morning read. It is called Flower Child by Maxine Swan. As you can see, I did get this secondhand. I got it on eBay or Thrift Books, one of those kind of sites. And I read a story by this author before in like the best American short stories of, I think it was 2006 that I had, because I did unhaul that, but I did make note of my favorite authors and everybody who's in that collection, and Maxine Swan was one of them. So I wanted to give her work a go again. Now there's not really a blurb on the back of this book. I don't know if these are interconnected or anything like that. I'm seeing if maybe there's a blurb inside, but I'm not seeing one. I'm just gonna read or synopsis of what I'm saying. There's just blurbs on the back, but no synopsis. We'll read the first one that comes up. It's coming from Mary Gordon, who wrote Pearl. Okay, I don't know any of these authors before. I was like, maybe we should see if there's one by one I know. But okay, Maxine Swan's Flower Child is a work of stunning lyricism, which I love, and intense originality. Awesome. It tells a story many of us have been waiting to hear, what happened to those children brought up in the wake of the dream of the 60s. I mean, by the title, Flower Child. So, but yeah, the children who grew up with, because you only see in like videos of Woodstock and that kind of thing. One of my favorite videos, or one of my favorite songs. And so Flower Child. Okay, yeah, in one of my favorite songs, San Francisco, if you go to San Francisco, that song, there's a video for it, and there are like kids running around and everything in it, and you know, they're the kids of the hippies, and I'm like, they are just living this very like wild lifestyle compared to how kids are raised today. How did those kids turn out? The ones who were, their parents were deadheads, they ended up being fans of Metallica, and those kids became fans of Green Day, and it goes on and on and on. You see, that's just me making stuff up, but this will be interesting to see how all those children came out and if things went well for them. How long is our first story? 20 pages. Not bad, not bad. We had that. I'll be starting that tomorrow. We finished cat poems and I write my review. Oh, I did write my review. I'm going to go put it in my reading journal, take pictures for Bookstagram, all the fun. It's time for our nightly update on Out on a Limb. I got to, I think it was like 82%. I will be finishing this tomorrow because I've been reading about 20% a day. I've told y'all before, romance is quite easy to read. I will admit sometimes chapters in romance books tend to be on the longer side, but generally they're easy to digest and understand. There's a formula of how they work. You know, the couple ends up together in the end. We're assuming, I mean, this could go wild and they don't, but usually with the formula, the couple ends up together at the end. But let's look at my notes. Yeah, I don't really know how to tell y'all what exactly is happening. Again, it's a formula. We're just seeing these two people fall in love. Let's fall in love. Birds can do it, the bees can do it. Let's fall in love. Theme songs. Okay. Starting with chapter 23. The inner turmoil is kind of annoying. We talked about the anxiety. No, he must have just been shaken off. But the inner turmoil getting kind of annoying. I talked about how I definitely think she has some kind of anxiety. It's not been said, but I was about to sing again. But I do think she needs an anxiety diagnosis. It is like extremely realistic. When has all these things to be anxious about? Because I mean, she's pregnant, has moved houses, and her financial situation has changed. That is a very stressful situation to be in. And it's completely understandable, but it just gets tiresome to read on the page that we're just going in circles of her being anxious in her head. And also we, Wynn is a character who didn't come from a lot, like she, you know, I feel bad saying she was poor, but she didn't have a lot of money growing up and everything. So she feels like she has to be really independent and that she can't ask anybody for help. And I'm just like, step off the pedestal. You can ask for help. Your friends are more than willing to help you. It's so obvious. And this is so frustrating. And chapter 24, getting kind of romantic. And this is, I'm not going to say exactly of what the situation was in the book, but I mean, I think it's relationships in general, because I know a ton of people, and there was actually a quote that one of the members of the book club put about how people are lonely, and I don't remember the exact quote. Y'all can check out on the Fable link that I have below, not sponsored, but it's on there about lonely people, and some people just can't accept being all by themselves in the world and all of that. And to me, that is just so sad. But there are so many people who are like, because they're not in a relationship, a romantic relationship, that's all they want in life is a romantic relationship. I'm here to tell you what I have right here. What you need will come to you when you need it. And you might not know when you need it. You might feel like you need it right now, but I'm telling you, God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, I'm saying he because I'm talking about God. He has a plan for you, and he will give you that partner or whatever in life. Because again, this could be anything. It could be money. It could be anything that he will provide. And everything in life happens for a reason. There is a plan for you and for your life, and it's going to happen the way that the universe wants it to happen. It's going to happen. So if you need it, it will come to you. You gotta trust the process. There's my TED talk. And then, would falling in love really be so bad for our characters? Would it be so bad? Would it? Let's go to chapter 25 now. And so this is a 25 chapter mark, and there is this a good progression in the story. It seems completely realistic at the pace that these characters are falling in love and are forming this relationship. It really does seem realistic. I would say this is a medium paced book if we want to go fast, slow, medium, because I know on some of those bookish social medias, we know I can never say that, but they ask you to put what kind of pacing it has, and I would personally go with medium pace, because as I said, the chapters can be on the lengthier side. That means, you know, about 15 pages in length, but it's easy to read, it's digestible to read, it's easy to understand is what I mean when I say it's easy to read. And then this is a quote from one of our characters, Sarah, who is Wynn's best friend. And so many people in romance books, characters in romance books, need this advice. Grow up and face your feelings. You need to face them. And then I'm glad that Wynn has her friend Sarah. She has that friend who is telling her something like that, because there are so many books that I read, and here comes Fred, but there are so many books that I read where characters need to be told that, and they need to have that, you know, best friend, or at least have somebody, a sister, you know, parent, who is supportive of them and helping them. And let's see, what's our next 26? This isn't just Canadians. Yeah, they were like, we don't know if it's, we don't want to trust when it's kind of warm because it might snow again. And okay, that's on Sunday. It was 80 degrees, and I told y'all 40 degrees today. No, we don't mess with that. But that's in South Carolina. I'm far away from Canada. 27. Okay, that I am not gonna say, but then there was like, she was talking about how, you know, she has a baby in her, and she's like, if the baby's a girl, it has ovaries, so therefore there's a whole family tree in there. And I think that could be said the same for a guy, because like sperm, but we're not getting all into that here. But I just never thought about that. Like, when you have a baby in you, that is, you are starting a family tree, or continuing a family tree, because obviously there was everybody who came before you, but you know, I want these characters to kiss so bad, changing gears here. And then in chapter 28, this is this one of the like comedic parts, is they are just telling each other about the first kiss they ever had, and Wynn is saying it was at a skate park, and he was like, so he was a skater boy, did you tell him see you later boy? And yeah, Fred, you do not need to get out that bad that you need to knock my purses over. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. And yeah, I had a bad feeling at the end of that chapter. And then 29, Beau's dad is telling her some stuff, and I'm like, Beau's not going to be happy with his dad, who's a little tipsy, spilling the tea. And then let's get to chapter 30, which is the last chapter of the day. So this quarter that I read today, for, or I guess like the 20% between 62 to 82% of the book, has been a bit choppy. Like the endings to chapters haven't been transitioning as well as they did earlier on in the book, because at the end of chapter 29, I was just like, or at the end of 28, I was like, this doesn't feel good. This feels like the third act breakup's coming in. Y'all know I absolutely despise the third act breakup because it's childish. But I was like, this does not feel good. And we didn't really get any resolution to why that there were those feelings. So it's just been a bit choppy. At first I thought episodic, but I think choppy is another word. I think they can be used in the same way. And he's looking in the mirror now for some reason. Okay, Fred, you're handsome, you're beautiful, I love you. And then, yeah, how they get, so they're talking all about his mom, and right after that, they get to having sex, and I'm like, kind of weird in my book, but I mean, to each their own. And then the dirty talking here, it is spicy. This is definitely, but that's the thing with this book, it is very spicy. Like these sex scenes are spicy, but there's also just that emotional level between these characters, that emotional maturity and all, where you're getting the perfect balance of the sex and the emotions in a relationship. And then they're just getting it on, and his dad is just right down the hall, and I'm like, they've talked about in this book that the walls in this house are thin. So hopefully his dad calls them out tomorrow and be like, y'all are kind of gross. Y'all know I'm just joking around, but that is where we got to on Out on a Limb. I would say like 4.25 because I do like it better than some of the books I've given 4-star to this year, but it just doesn't have that 5-star quality. I don't really have anything wrong with this book, but it's not hitting a 5-star. But I am still really enjoying it, and I can definitely see why it is so highly ranked. But it's not the best romance book I've ever read, and I don't think it's an all-time favorite. But just with some of the things that we've discovered with our characters, especially today, I think this would be really interesting on reread, just to pick up and see if there were any hints along the way. So those are my thoughts on Out on a Limb for Tuesday. Guys, happy Wednesday. I'm gonna apologize for this being kind of mellow. The weather, it's ruining the mood and just other stuff, but I finished Out on a Limb. I don't know when I'm rating it yet because I haven't done Call Pal or anything yet, but I just want to go through Call Pal with y'all and just give you my thoughts on this book. I read 61 pages today to let y'all know, but characters, I do think these are really good romance protagonists because I really struggle with characters in romance books, but I do think this one did do a good job. We will start with Win because she is our one we're getting the POV of the whole time. She was my issue, like, of why I'm just giving the characters a 4 rather than a 5, is because she got in her head so much. There was so much anxiety and inner turmoil, which is completely realistic, but it got tiresome to read about, and I just didn't want to read about that anymore. Also, it was so annoying, the whole course of the book, we don't really see development on it, of her kind of, I don't know how to word it, but being on a pedestal and not wanting to accept help from others, being proud about being independent, and never really growing from that. And that was just something that drove me up a wall, because it's not like her friends, her partner, are being bothered by helping her. They are offering and wanting to help her, but she just won't accept it, and that was so annoying. With Bo, who is our male main character, we do not have him as a POV in the book, but we learned so much about him because these characters are adults and act like adults. They have conversations, they communicate. Therefore, with all of that communicating and relationship building, we get to know who Bo is as a person, because I thought I struggled when we would only have one POV out of the 2 people in a relationship, but here we do have just that one POV. But since the characters are adult and mature and communicate, we get to know about Bo as a person. Atmosphere, there's like no atmosphere. You can read this any time of year. It does, Halloween is kind of big in here, but I wouldn't say it's like a Halloween spooky romance or anything like that. But yeah, the atmosphere didn't play a huge part to me. The writing, as I told y'all, there was like that stuff with Win did get kind of tiresome, and I would say this is a medium-paced book, but with the pacing, with the relationship building, I think it did a really good job at showing that progression and making it realistic of how people fall in love, even though it's different for everybody, obviously. In the second half of the book, though, I do think the writing got a bit choppy and kind of episodic. The chapters didn't transition well into each other. With the plot, this is so new and unique to the romance genre. One night stand, end up pregnant, and forming a relationship with that person, and forming a relationship as you're finding out about each other, but also growing a baby together. That sounds weird saying growing a baby like they're a plant, but as your baby's growing, you are getting to know that other person and forming that relationship, falling in love, and forming a family in a way. And I just thought that was such a unique way to do that. And then obviously we have our disability representation with both our characters, and I think that's so important to show that everybody is deserving of love and that your disability doesn't define you as a person. That's a really big theme in here. Also of you will find love, like if you are destined for that, and what you need will come to you in time, and there's timing to everything. And it might not be exactly how we planned it, but that was what was destined for you. This is really hard to put into spoken words, but so I did enjoy this book. It was one of the better romance books I've read. It was a good book. I don't know what I'm going to rate it yet, but I'm going to go find that out right now. I'm going to go write my review, do my book journaling, all for that. And next I will be starting my like graphic novel of the month, and this is called Old Rock by Is Not Boring by Deb Paludi. And this is about this rock who's been in this national park for as long as anyone can remember, and it's really showing how he's seen time go by. So things that we might think might be boring, like plants, grass, no, because they make our atmosphere, they make our environment that we are a part of, and we would not be alive without these things. We need them to survive. And you're like, how do you need a rock to survive? The earth, the planet, it's one. So if there's no earth, what happens to us? We cease to exist. It is important. And I have read several like adult books, you know, books for adults that are about the same thing. So I'm going to love seeing this told for children, because it's such an important thing and something that I preach. I literally preach about this all the time, about how the little things in life are extremely important and make us who we are as humans. So cannot wait to see that and, you know, preach to kids that this is the way, you know. But I will probably check back in with y'all once I finish that. I told y'all I've been having a bad afternoon, and first when I was marking Old Rock, which I gave a 4-star, and I'm gonna go into my review in a minute, I went to Fable and I thought I had clicked that as my book finished, but I clicked Flower Children saying I had finished that one. Obviously I haven't, I'm only 19% of the way into it, and I had to delete it from so many shelves and just so much work, and I feel like crying, but I'm not gonna cry because I don't want my eyes to be burning, because that's just so annoying. And then I keep trying to mark this as currently reading on Goodreads, and every time I've clicked this, it doesn't give me the option. And now I've finished it and want to write my review, so we're gonna open and close the app and see if that does anything, which no, now I don't have that. I don't have the barcode because I copy and pasted my review. So F this, to put it nicely. But I'll tell y'all my review. This book is, I give it a 4-star. If you're wanting to instill a love of history and geology into your children, I would definitely recommend. And I know a lot of people who, well, I didn't until I went to Christian school, that, you know, are big against evolution, and you can have your opinion on that. Like, it's not something that I'm like die on this hill over, because I really don't know how the world was made. I'm just happy to be here. I don't really care how we got here. You can believe what you want. So if you are somebody who doesn't believe in evolution, don't be scared that evolution is presented in this book. There are no humans in this book whatsoever. So you're not gonna, if you want to like censor your kids from that or whatever, that's not in here. So I do think this works for any form of belief on the history of the world. You can read this book, and that's really inclusive and awesome, one thing. But yes, it just shows how, what I was telling you earlier about how nature and everything is important around us, but also a theme that I picked up on is we shouldn't compare our own stories, ourselves, to others, because nobody in this world is boring. Nothing in this world is truly boring. Everything has a story behind it and has a reason why it is the way that it is. And we shouldn't compare ourselves, because we are all great. We are all not boring. We are all amazing in our own ways. And you shouldn't compare yourself to others. You just need to listen to their stories and be like, wow, that's awesome. I'm awesome. Everybody's awesome. And the world turns out great. So I would highly recommend picking this up, reading it to children. I had a lot of fun reading it out loud to Penny. I mean, she's 15 years old, but I think she still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. So I do think if you are a history lover, geology lover, then this might be something you want to pick up. If you like dinosaurs and mammoths, y'all know I love dinosaurs and woolly mammoths. They're awesome. They were in here. And just, if you love nature, it's fun. I love the colors and the artwork style, so definitely highly recommend this one. I am at the halfway point in People Like Her, and honestly, this is a 2-star. It's doing nothing for me. This is a thriller, but I'm not thrilled at all. The most interesting thing is just seeing the life of influencers and the people around them, and how everything just isn't as it appears. There's a darker side. You know, everything in life, I think there's positives and negatives, however you go about it. And that's hard to say everything, but you know. So we have the 2 point of views, the husband, the wife is the main one, the wife, the husband, and then the stalker, the person who's going to commit the crime. And we've only had one instance where it's like, that's kind of spooky. The daughter just kind of wandered off in the mall, and somebody gave her a very, not a brand new stuffed animal. And, I love stuffed animals. And to see this man throw it in the trash, like, I'm like, what if it was a kid who lost theirs? And angry anyway right now. But so that guy, he throws away that stuffed animal. I'm like, what if it had been some other little kids and she just picked it up? And it's obviously a well-loved stuffed animal, because you know when they're well-loved. And he threw it in the garbage. He should have just set it aside somewhere, and because there's been times where I've seen stuffed animal, like it was at the South Carolina Welcome Center, and I was coming back from Raleigh, and I saw them sitting there, and I was like, I'm just going to leave them there, because the people who it was near the parking lot, so I think they probably fell out of the car, so I'm like, they might come back and get it. I'm not just gonna go throw it in the garbage can, like what? But that was our one like creepy instant. And then there's been other things where it's like he couldn't get, like just now, she heard there was an accident and all of that, but it's never you're on the edge of your seat, even though it's like, accident, that should make your ears perk up, but it's like, the author is doing nothing with this. They are authors, because this is an author duo. They're not really making this thrilling. I am bored. We're just seeing the day-to-day life, and I think that could be something with writing, just making it seem your average every day, and then stuff's gonna hit the fan and it's gonna go crazy. But I'm 50% into this book, and I am not thrilled whatsoever. I am bored. It took a lot for me to get out of bed and film this clip. It's not that cold outside, it's 65, so that to me doesn't justify me turning on the heater. It's probably colder in here. I don't know what the temperature is in here. The thermostat's over there, that's why I'm pointing. But I am cold. It is rainy still. That's all it's been, which personally I do love rainy weather, but I like warm rain, like in the springtime, not winter rain, even though I told y'all it's 65 degrees outside, so it's not too bad like when I was getting the mail and stuff, but I'm still cold. But I got to 25% in Flower Children. This is kind of 3-star vibes. This is mainly like a vibe story of just being a child, and I mean, this is in the 1970s, but being a kid who loved to play outside and everything, it just has that vibe. And here's it's something that I took a picture of today, since, I don't really annotate my short story collections. But, so I'm just going to, okay, so there's like a song on the radio, and the dad is like, only grown-ups would come up with something like this. And here's his little rant. So, grown-ups, we say, what's wrong with grown-ups? What's wrong with grown-ups? What isn't wrong with grown-ups? We're speeding through the night. We all listen up except Clyde, who's asleep. We love it when our father rants and raves about grown-ups. The real problem, he explains, the overall problem, is that grown-ups think they're smarter than kids, when the fact of the matter is, the older you grow, the dumber you get. What happens is you start hoarding up opinions. Pretty soon, you've got an opinion stuck to everything, and before you know it, your poor little brain is so crowded with opinions, the damn thing forgets how to think. Now, if grown-ups would only listen to their kids, if they'd listen to their kids, they might learn a thing or two. I laughed. Huck grips his hand in his lap, excited. I see Lou smiling to herself in the dark, and I just thought that was kind of funny. And I mean, think about it. Think about it. I think it's very true. But we will be starting a new book today. I will be doing the audiobook, and the audiobook is actually split into 2 on Audible. I got it with my subscription, I'm pretty sure. I didn't think I paid for it, but now I think you have to pay for it. So I don't know if I just got lucky and got it. I don't know how all this worked, because I don't remember buying it. I know I can obviously go look at my records of where I've spent money, but still, I don't remember buying it. But it's split in 2, but there is so math is going to be fun. It's going to be fun for me. So I might just do the percent thing on StoryUp, and oh my gosh, my back just started hurting. I'm like, I'm a grown up and my back hurts. No. But I am going to tell y'all what this book is about. So let me get it here. We're starting, like, we still have like 3 hours before I go and start this. Maybe 2 hours, but This is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is a young adult romance, and it is a big boy. It might not look that big, but this is over 500 pages, I'm pretty sure. 603 to be exact. But this is taking place in Ireland. We have our male main character, who is Johnny, and he seemingly has everything going for him. He is like the stars at rugby, yeah. So he's the star of the rugby pitch at the school. So, you know, that brings a lot of like attention to him, but he is secretly hiding a secret, but he's secretly hiding that he has an injury. And so, as I said, everything is going for him. He doesn't have time for really a social life. He doesn't believe in dating because he just wants to focus on his sport. Then comes Shannon, who is the new girl at Tommen College. This is college, I think, as high school, but we're just gonna have to see. But Shannon is the new girl, and she's had a really rough life, tumultuous life, and she's just there because, you know, you have to go to school, and she is just trying to get by every day and not really draw attention to herself. But she befriends Johnny, so therefore that brings attention to her, and it's just them trying to survive that relationship, I guess. And the like tagline here is, he wants to save her, she wants to hide. She's damaged, he's determined, fate brought them together, love binds them. So I am going to be doing this as a buddy read with a friend, not on Fable, but we're just going to both be reading it at the same time. And this is the highest rated romance book on my TBR. I got to 11% in Binding 13, which was 67 pages read and about 3 hours listened to on the audiobook. And that's how much I typically read in a day for my, you know, TBR picks. And to let y'all know, we are still on the same school day. All of this has been one day. So this is definitely going to be a slow burn. And I know this is a series, and I think probably each book, I know, like, is this something they do over in Europe? Is because there are multiple books about the same couple, but there's also books about different couples. And I say like in the Europe, because this is Irish. And then we have Magnolia Parks, which is from the UK, and I know it alternates books of like what characters. That's kind of interesting. I can't think of any over here in the States that do that, where like a couple will have more than one book. I don't think I've seen that, but it probably has happened because romance is an extremely popular genre. But we will go through my notes. We have a 2005 setting, which I did not know until somebody I follow on Bookstagram. I don't remember who, I'm sorry, but they were doing books. They were like, this is your favorite decade, you need to check out these books. And this was on the 2000s, and I was like, wait, what? We're having a 2000s setting? Like, sign me up. I love the 2000s. Like, I'm so nostalgic for it. So yes, we do have a 2005 setting, and our character, we'll get to that in a minute, but so obviously this is in Ireland, and I have not been to Ireland and did not grow up in Ireland, but hopefully there is still that nostalgia factor, even though I was across the ocean over here in South Carolina. But hopefully we get just those nice nostalgic vibes of that time period. And with our first chapter, we are at Shannon's perspective, and she's like, I'm not like other girls. Let me read y'all this one paragraph. Okay, it's 2 paragraphs. A lot of the time I worried that I didn't work like other girls. I didn't have the same urges or interests in the opposite sex. I didn't have an interest in anyone. Boys, girls, famous actors, hot models, clowns, puppies. Well, okay, so I had interest in cute puppies and big fluffy dogs, but the rest of it I could give or take. I had no interest in kissing, touching, or fondling of any sort. I couldn't bear the thought of it. I suppose watching the SH storm that was my parents' relationship unravel had put me off the prospect of teaming up with another human for life. If my parents' relationship was a representation of love, then I wanted no part of it. But it's like including the models, actors, clowns. She's like, I'm not like other girls. And it's just such, like, that first chapter is how awful her life is, how she's bullied. I've never seen Carrie, I know, Come For Me, but it's like, I've always heard that's like what that movie's about, is like bullying and all that, and it's just like to such an extreme, when I've never seen bullying like the bullying described in books and movies at all. Maybe I'm lucky and just have not witnessed anything that I think was too bad. Yeah, so I was like, are we gonna have anything positive here? I guess like her brother's cool because he stands up for her, but like that's the only thing that is seemingly positive. So let's move on to chapter 2. So it's not all doom and gloom, because we get introduced to her old friends, which are Claire and Lizzie, who they were friends, and I'm going to use American terms. They were friends in like elementary school, and then when they got to like the next level of schooling, they had to go their separate ways. The two friends went to the private school and she had to stick with public school, but that's, I just told y'all, the bullying was so bad and her parents finally had enough and sent her to the private school. So she's being reunited with them. So I'm like, maybe things will start to look up for her because she has those two best friends, and hopefully, you know, things go well. Let's move on to chapter 3 now. This writing is like really choppy and short. I know, short when it's like this, but so this is an example here. I had to make sure. I mean, it's only page 2, so it shouldn't be spoilery. Nanny Murphy only said, I was born with an old head on my shoulders. And then next sentence, it was true to an extent. I had never been one to be fazed by boys or fads. It just wasn't in me. I once read somewhere that we mature with damage, not with age. If that's the case, I was an old age pensioner in the emotional stakes. Like, y'all can see just through this writing style how it's just sentences rather than paragraphs. I mean, there are paragraphs, but there are a lot of just sentences, and I think this is really unique. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I don't hate it either. So I'd give like a 3-star for writing right now. And we are introduced to Johnny in chapter 3. We have his perspective, and I was expecting like a more like quiet guy, like quiet, mysterious, but he's really good at his sport, but you know, he doesn't want a relationship because he just wants to focus on his sport. But he's kind of cocky. Like, I wasn't really expecting that, but like, yeah. But so how they meet is, again, I've only seen rugby at the Olympics, so you know, I don't know too much, but she thought that'd be a shortcut crossing the rugby pitch. I hope that's the right word. And he was having a fit anyway about something else, and he kicked the ball or threw the ball, and it hits her in the head and she falls down. Her skirt and tight skirt rips, so everybody sees her knickers, because this is over yonder where they say that kind of thing. Underwear though. So they see all of that and it's so embarrassing. So he rips off his jersey, and because it'll be a dress on her because their size difference. And so he puts that on her, and so he's carrying her to the school nurse. He's shirtless, has her pink backpack thrown over his shoulder. I thought that was kind of like funny. Like I saw the scene of them walking, like that was funny. Now we have chapter 4. So, you know, this is a really like bougie private school, but the nurse is out on maternity leave and they don't have a backup. So like, what happens there? Like, why don't they? And this is random, but I'm so curious what Johnny's home life is like, because right off the bat, we are introduced to what Shannon's home life is like. So I'm really interested to see how it is. I think he probably comes from a background of privilege just from what we've seen on the page, but we will have to see where that goes. And yeah, it was just surprisingly intimate. So he is 17 and she's 15 turning 16, and like, yeah, just because, you know, they're waiting in the nurse's office, she probably has a concussion, and he's just like doing his finger along a scar, and just like the way he's like touching her hair, I'm like, that just seems really intimate and close for somebody you just met, even though you like accidentally hurt her and all that. Like, That seems like a lot to me, but I don't know. What do I know? And now we go to chapter 5. So I think our trope's gonna be forbidden romance because, like, you know, her mom is pissed after, sorry for saying that, but the mom is upset when she finds out that her daughter was hurt, even if it was an accident. And she's just like, I don't want that boy, sorry. I need to do an Irish accent. So Dairy Girls, Michelle, James, you know, but that sounds still English. Island, 37 countries, you remember that, right? But so the mom was like, yeah, stay away from my daughter, all of that. So the principal's like, yeah, you do, don't go near her. So I'm thinking we might have some forbidden romance. I feel like I can tell y'all all this, so I hope this isn't spoilery. I'm just telling y'all like right off the bat. But yeah, the inner thoughts of the characters definitely seem realistic and seem like what characters of this age would be having in their head. But one thing I picked up in Johnny's chapters are there's a lot of, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I know that drives some people up a wall. It doesn't bother me, but since I know it annoys so many people, I pick up on it when I see it in books. And I did pick up on it. But yeah, Shannon, she changed this guy's life. They don't know it yet, but just how after he's met her, the things he's been doing, I'm like, she flipped his life upside down, even though he technically kind of did that to her physically, but you know. And so, as I told y'all, he has a secret injury, and it's a groin injury, and it's like, it would be in a romance novel. I know people get groin injuries. I've never questioned it too much, because I'm like, that's kind of private, like, I don't need to know everything. But now I know, and I'm like, wow. And so we have like, we do meet his parents and all, and it's surprisingly his parents like aren't forcing him to be in the sport and everything. I thought that's the way it would go because that's how it tends to go with like college romance sports. And I think Bella will bully Shannon. I don't know if that'll happen, just a theory. And those are my thoughts on Binding 13 today. And this will be our main focus in next week's vlog, just to let y'all know. I totally forgot I was vlogging because of the hockey, but I have no book to update y'all on right now. Just I'm not in any place for that. I'm getting all this ready so I can edit the vlog. I was watching the USA Finland hockey game in the Four Nations face-offs. This is just to get the NHL players ready for the Olympics next year, which is in Milan, which is like my favorite place I've ever been. Milan and Turin. I haven't been to Turin, but we're going to wrap up the vlog. Well, I guess we do our sneak peek first, which that's going to be Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh will be the main focus of next week's vlog. The focus of next week's vlog is reading the highest rated romance book on my TBR according to Goodreads, and that's, you know, where I keep track of my TBR. And you know, we started that book today, so I don't have to tell y'all again what it's about, but I do want to just do our weekly wrapped here. So for the past 3 days I've read over 100 pages. On Monday I didn't. I only read 86 pages. So I have completed three books this week in February. And I have not hauled any books, but that's definitely going to change tomorrow because I'm going to Books A Million for like my yearly trip to Books A Million. This is the one Books A Million where like I will have a good time at because I have to keep that mall alive. It's the Myrtle Beach Mall. It's a very dead mall. Like, it is a dead mall, except they have Bass Pro Shop and that's what keeps it alive. But I'm going to Books A Million there. And I do have, I'm gonna haul like some like children's books that are on Greek mythology. I did start a book on Greek mythology today that's I think it would be geared towards children because of the illustrations and everything, but I'm not 100% sure because Haiying's video, which I shared earlier this week, it might have been last week, and she showed this book that I haven't. I was like, I know I have that book somewhere. I have to find it. And I've been looking all over my house, but I did find it in a chest in my sunroom. So I did find it and I did start that, and it's free on Audible with my subscription. So I'm just following along with the audiobook and just reading about they have gods, goddesses, monsters, heroes, anything Greek mythology. So I'm just reading one a day. So Gaia will be tomorrow, and I want to get a book on Jason and the Argonauts, which is a children's book. For me, with this, I'm just wanting a very basic understanding of Greek myths just to help with my Roman research and everything, to understand the Romans better, because they heavily were influenced by Greek culture. And that's something with the Romans, when they would conquer these places, a lot of times they would absorb parts of that culture, and the Greeks are a part of that. But I could go more into that, but that's not why we're here. And then just some other books that I might look into buying, because those children's books are not going to count towards my buying goal, because one, they're usually way cheaper than adult books, and it's just different because I'm reading it for a different reason than the adult books that I read. And I guess that's one thing I meant to talk about with the Binding 13. I am shocked that that is listed as young adult. I've never read a young adult book as raunchy as that. Like, I'm not saying it's raunchy, but because it's a romance book, but for a younger audience, I would be stunned if I was 16 years old and reading that. I'd be like, oh my gosh. I would feel kind of dirty. Yeah, you know, again, that Christian education, which I am totally fine with, because I was not louding back then. But when I was, yeah, the character at 15, so. Okay, besides the point. We are going to be ending the vlog here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it all the way through, leave a heart emoji in the comments below. And happy Valentine's Day. I hope y'all had a happy Valentine's Day, because when this video is up, it was yesterday. But yes, I hope y'all had a happy Valentine's Day. Again, I'm spending mine by going to Bass Pro and Books A Million, and then Calabash to place bets and eat seafood. That's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.